This Tour de France has been absolutely brutal. There's no race quite like the Tour, and there's no start quite like the one that we have had. It's been merciless in terms of its intensity. Bumps and bruises there have been, lots of finger pointing as well. Nobody can quite figure out how to deal with the day, or indeed deal with your rivals. Time to bury the hatchet.
There was a lot of tension, a lot of focus in the paddock today. Of course, it is another opportunity for the sprinters. Interesting to hear from Jonathan Milan and Binyam Girmay. They've put the contretemps, the argument, the tension behind them of yesterday. They've shaken hands, they're now moving on. But what it does show is the intense spotlight, the pressure to win a sprint stage today. And we could see, for the first time in this year's Tour de France, the Maillot Jaune, aka Mathieu van der Poel, leading out his teammate Jasper Philipsen. That is going to be absolutely fantastic. Can they make it 3 from 3?
A change in the wind direction. No change in the weather. Still blowing a hoolie, just from a different direction. Well, it's been blowing in from the southwest. The wind swinging round to a northerly, meaning crosswinds early on, but then punishingly headwinds all the way up to Dunkirk, our destination of 178 kilometres in total. Not the 209 of the day prior. A lot of fatigue and bruises carried into this day. How would they cope? Well, an intermediate sprint along the way, just one mountain point up for grabs at Montcassel, a revisit there. Back up to the northern coast. And it was grim at the beginning today. At the rollout, well, nobody really fancied getting themselves into much of a position. And even when the flag waved, still nobody wanted it. Time for a catch-up then. Time for some sympathy, perhaps, to be spread around the peloton. There was a few little moves to increase the pace, but not by much. We were cruising along around 35 kilometres per hour, sometimes less than that. And so, breeze being shot here. Tim Merlier just catching up with our overall leader, Mathieu van der Poel. Went into yellow in Bologna. And then the sun came. But it didn't brighten proceedings, I'm afraid. This was to turn out to be something of a dark day for many riders who suffered yet again. Well, as the pace picked up once we just passed the 100 kilometres to go marker, suddenly it was getting even more intense when the intermediate sprint started to loom large. There's plenty of points up for grabs at the finish line in the opening few days here, 50 on each of the days, but the intermediate counts for an awful lot, and if you're very well placed, then in the green jersey competition, that reflected in points for your team, and that's vital too. This was the wrestle. Now watch Milan. He jinks. Coquard up here. He bounces into Rex. And then all of a sudden, this. Ow! That Jasper Philipsen on the ground for Alpecin de Koenig. A nightmare for him. Winner on day one. The man in green. But our thoughts were further, of course, behind. It was such a hard hit, I'm afraid, that Jasper Philipsen is out of the race. Absolute nightmare. Well, all riders who were up front had every right to be there. It was just a racing incident. Up ahead was one mountain point up for grabs, and clever work by UE Team Emirates. Tim Wellens went up to collect that point, and in so doing, courtesy of the finishing places in different categorisations, same points as Tadej Pogacar, but into the polka dot jersey, meaning pressure off Tadej when it comes to the post-race interviews. Wellens will be in polka dots tomorrow. Everybody else cruising over the KOM, nothing to be gained, but of course the finale was starting to loom large in everyone's minds. After a relatively benign day, it left a lot of power in the legs of the fast men. All the teams were already in colour order, and by the time we were on our final approach, the road was extremely busy. The big problem was it might have been a boulevard finale, but a very tight boulevard as well. There wasn't going to be much room up front. Everyone wanted to be in a decent position, and of course, inevitably, the crashes continued to come. Well, it would be almost all the way to the line that the attrition rate was going up on the day. Thankfully for some, the 5 kilometre rule meant that they wouldn't lose too much time, but they lost skin, that's for sure. So who had skin still in the game? Not Evenepoel, yet again caught out. Offered up tea and sympathy. Well, sympathy anyway. What about that finale? It was dramatic.
Postinel find themselves in the right position. Lidl have messed it up a little though. They've no men left to lead out. It's Picnic trying to do it. Stewart is the man who's going to sprint on the right hand side. Ackerman's there though as well for Israel Premier Tech. Another big crash behind. Another big crash behind. And it's Milan now on the left hand side. Lund on the right. In fact, it's Bittner. But look at Milan go. Milan sees the line in front. Milan and Medlin. Milan and Medlin. Milan, Medlin. It is Milan. And Italy's jolly giant is the man. No, it looks like it might be Medlin. We think that it's Medlin. Wow.
And so it proved to be. The European champion got what he was looking for. Possibly not in the circumstances he would have wanted to achieve it. Sprinting is a brutal game, and he played it absolutely brilliantly with the cards he had. Superb. Our thoughts, of course, to those who took a tumble today. Malia taking it ahead of Melin. Bauhaus, Varenshoal and Bittner, your top five.
I must say this team did an incredible job to the last five, and then the real Casimir starts were really difficult to find position. Lost Berden, and I think in the last 2 kilometers I fight back from behind to come back in position, and I was like all the time in the wind, and only with 500 to go I found again a bit of slipstream, and I know next to Milan always difficult to beat him, but I'm happy I can take today my second win here in the Tour de France.
Another brutal day. The general classification, well, that of course will be decided ultimately in the mountains, but Van der Poel is in charge of that at the moment. What an amazing race. What brutality we've had, and our thoughts of course to those who took a very, very hard exit from this race. So what of tomorrow? Well, maybe we might just calm down a bit with a breakaway win perhaps. It sort of begs it on our road to Rouen. 174 kilometres in total with the lumpy stuff at the end. Mountains points up for grabs, possibly a polka dot jersey by the end of it. And a breakaway temptation? Let's see. It's certainly on the cards. And boy oh boy, do we need a little bit of calm amongst the drama. Virtually no flat land to be dealt with, however. The drama is always guaranteed in this race. Have we had too much? Let's see how we go tomorrow, shall we? Best of luck to everybody.